Thank you, ma'am.
All right, so we'll begin. So, Mr. Campbell, you're here today seeking a commutation of your sentence. Your DOC number is 357936. You're currently serving a life sentence for a first-degree murder conviction. You were sentenced in September of 1995 in Vermilion Parish. Is that information correct, Mr. Campbell?
Yes, ma'am, it is. Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay, Mr. Campbell, how old are you?
I'm 50, sir.
Okay, and how long have you been in prison?
This is my 30th year.
Okay. What's your education level?
I graduated from the New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary here with a bachelor's in Christian ministries.
Okay. Let's start at the lounge. What happened at the lounge?
At the lounge?
Right, where you shot into the car.
I got into an altercation with a group of guys, and it became violent. And so I had a handgun, and we just became threatening towards one another. And I went up to their car, and I shot the tail light, and I think I shot the trunk of their car.
And then you were leaving the lounge. First you left with your girlfriend?
Yes, sir.
And then you ended up with Mr. Harris?
Yes, sir.
Okay, tell me what happened after Mr. Harris picked you up.
Well, Mr. Harris, he witnessed the incident at the lounge, and he pulled up on side of the vehicle that I was in with my girlfriend, and he just said, they get in the car with me so, we can ride around and just kind of, talk and calm you down. And so we pulled off, and we were a few blocks away from the lounge, and Officer Hardy pulled up behind us, and a short time after that, he put the lights on because there was an expired license plate or something to that nature, and a high-speed chase ensued. Mr. Harris sped away to his mother's house, and we arrived at the driveway, and Mr. Harris was being arrested. I engaged Officer Hardy, and my behavior was unbecoming, and it led to some words between me and Officer Hardy, and I pulled a weapon during that engagement, and I fired it, and I took Mr. Hardy's life.
Okay, the weapon you took Mr. Hardy's life with, was it that same pistol or was it a rifle?
No, sir, it was the same handgun.
The same handgun.
Yes, sir.
And you shot Mr. Hardy behind the head, correct?
Yes, sir, I did. Yes,
and he
sir.
wasn't even there to arrest you, correct?
That's correct, sir.
Okay. Let's talk about after you left there. Then you were picked up by, let's see, who was it that picked you up? Mr. Peter Chambers?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What went on with you and Mr. Chambers in his car?
When I got into Mr. Chambers' car, I explained to him what just happened, and I explained to him. I said, "Man, I shot Officer Hardy," and he was like, "Man, where do you want to go?" And I said, "Bring me to my girlfriend's mother's house." And so he drove me in that direction, and so when we got there, he let me out of the car, and I just took off running, and I went to my aunt and uncle's home. That was a distance from there on foot, and I explained we started talking. They told me what happened, and I admitted everything to them. And so they said, you need to turn yourself in, and I agreed with them.
Okay. Let me tell you some statements that Mr. Chambers said. Said you got in the car, I just killed Dooley. I would say that probably was Mr. Hardy's nickname, I would imagine.
Yes, sir.
Is that what y'all know?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I shot him behind the head. I know he's dead. Then it said, Mr. Chambers said that you asked him to kill you. Then after that, Mr. Chambers says, you said, no, bring me to the police department. I just soon kill all them bitches. So did that come out your mouth? Did you make those statements?
I made the statement about the situation with Mr. Hardy. As far as taking me to the police station, I didn't ask Mr. Chambers to take me to the police station. I really just wanted to get as far away out of town as I can. I do agree. I do believe that Mr. Chambers made that statement, sir. I did admit to him that I did shoot Officer Hardy, sir.
Okay. All right, let me ask you this. Were you on any drugs at the time this offense occurred?
I was drinking. I had been drinking since earlier that night, and I was drinking also at the lounge, sir.
Okay. How often you drank when you were out?
I would say that I drank maybe socially or occasionally. This particular night I was drinking because of an emotional situation that had occurred in a relationship that I was in, and I guess, well, my emotional immaturity, out of my emotional immaturity, I just felt like I could drink my problems away and just forget about it. So I was a social drinker, but this particular night, I was drinking for a reason. It was because I was upset, and I thought that the alcohol would just kind of alleviate my problems.
Well, what kind of relationship? I mean, what was that about? You was with your girlfriend.
Yes, sir.
Another lady?
Sir?
Oh, was this with your girlfriend, or you were having problems, or was this with another lady?
No, sir. This was actually with my girlfriend, and that's what really brought up the situation at the lounge. It was a situation with my girlfriend.
What kind of classes have you taken since you've been incarcerated?
I've taken right now. I've taken victim awareness. I facilitate victim awareness. I've taken the AA and substance abuse classes. I also am preparing to be a facilitator of Celebrate Recovery. I facilitated 100 hours. I've taken 100 hours, and there's been quite a few programming classes that I have taken and that I'm still currently taking right now. Thinking for a change.
I see you spent 3 years in the National Guard. Why did you leave the National Guard?
I was in court. I committed my offense at the time. I was still active in the National Guard at the time that I committed my offense, sir.
Okay. You have strong law enforcement opposition. The victims are strongly opposed. I think it's Gay, Hardy, Hardgrove.
That's the widow.
That's the widow. Okay. Victim's widow, Katie Hardy, the lady,
The daughter.
Mike Hardy, brother, that's you, and Chris Hardy, brother, and Kimberly Hardy's sister-in-law. All of them are very strongly opposed to your release. Your family is unopposed to your release. Your risk is low. You've had 48 write-ups. none since 2005. What changed in 2005 that you stopped getting write-ups?
I believe that what changed my life was that the administration had become so different. The seminary had come here, and so we had a lot of inmate ministers who would come around and minister to us, and I was able to be mentored by individuals who had been locked up a lot longer than I have been, and they had been a part of the programming. And so they became like role models and mentors to me. And so through those individuals, I was able to meet chaplains, I was able to meet wardens and colonels and classification officers, and they began to entrust me with certain responsibilities. And they counseled me and they mentored me. And it just changed my mind. I began to take part of the Experiencing God classes and the 100 hours, and I just began to think differently, and I began to understand my actions and how much I had hurt people, and I was like, I needed to do something. I was hurting so bad on the inside, and I needed to do something to give back and to help people. And it just really changed me. I began to grow after 10 years here. So it was just the outreach, the help. It helped me to grow into a different person.
Okay, and you said you graduated from a theological seminar?
Seminary, yes, sir. Yes, sir. In 2014.
I mean, do you have a group? Do you have a church that you speak at on weekends?
Yes, sir. I'm with Leadership Builders here, and I do teach the Bible study. I'm on the regular roster of teaching Bible study, preaching sermons, and we've also started another outreach ministry where we do services behind the dormitories of the elderly patients who are unable quite often to make it to the church services. And so we do a service for them on Sundays. I've been there since 2010, sir.
Okay. Warden, do you have any comments to make?
Campbell has been a trustee with Class B back in '08 when he made it, and then in '09 he's since then been a Class A trustee. He has been, as well as graduating from NOBTS, he was a healthcare orderly. He's also currently working as well as a reentry mentor, has been as well as while taking welding. So he stays busy. He's done well for us.
I have no further questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. All right, so at this time, we'll hear from the folks who want to speak on your behalf. Could we hear first from Mr. Lloyd Joyner?
Does he come up here? Okay, he can. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, sir. So you are uncle?
Uncle by marriage. Yes, my name is Lloyd Joyner, and I'm the Daedrig's uncle by marriage. I want to say to the board first of all that I've served pastoring in Lafayette, Louisiana, for 43 years, and you don't stay around very long if integrity is absent. So what I'm about to say to you, even though I am his uncle, what I'm telling you is the truth. I've known the Daedrig Campbell all of his life, and as a young boy, 7 or 8 years of age. He spent his summers with my wife and my children and I in Abbeville. We grew close as he grew older, and we bonded very well. And he said something to me a year or so ago. We talked by phone. He said to me, "Unc, you thought I wasn't listening, but I was listening to you." And that made me feel good to know that I had given him something to help build and to strengthen his life. I felt I felt personally responsible for introducing Nadadrig and my family to other cities and other states. We have traveled extensively, my family and I. And so one summer, I decided to include Nadadrig to take on vacation with us. We went to Colorado Springs. He was about 8 years old. He learned to swim. We had a great time. He really enjoyed that vacation. In fact, the last time we spoke, he said he still had pictures from that vacation. He remembered it very well. I loved Nadadrig as if he was my own son. My wife loves him as if he was her son. His whole family really loves him. His summers, he would spend part of them with us. He would return to Shreveport to go back to school. And his junior year, he spent some time with us in Abbeville while attending high school there. He decided to come back to graduate from Abbeville High, and he spent half of the school year with us. And we grew really close during that time. On the way here, his father and I were talking. I've never seen Nadadrig drink. I've never seen him drink. I've never smelled alcohol upon him. I've never seen him do anything, maybe because it was me and he had such great respect for me that he avoided doing some things, but I have never seen him do anything to make me feel in a way. I'm the one brought Nadadrig to turn himself in. He put that trust and confidence in me. When I spoke with him over the phone, I shared with him that the best thing for him to do was to turn himself in, and he agreed with me. And I went by to pick him up. And I turned Nadadrig over to the sheriff's department. That dark night was one of the most painful nights of our lives, not just because of the crime that Nadadrig committed, but also for the Hardy family. Being a pastor for 43 years, I've witnessed a number of members who lost loved ones to tragic incidents. And I know what it's like. I know what it feels like. I've watched these parents as I counsel with them. And so I know that it was very painful for the Hardy family. I'll say this publicly, even though I've spoken about it privately, that we actually grieved with them because we felt their pain. And of course, for Nadadrig, we prayed, we cried, because all of us were in a lot of pain at that time. I believe that based on what I've seen, from his portfolio, that he have not wasted the years in this facility. He has spent a lot of time educating himself because he was always conscientious and eager about achieving goals. And I believe had he not drank so much that night, that his life would be a great benefit to so many people today.
Yes,
I
sir.
love
Mr.
him.
Joyner, I'm sorry for interrupting, sir, but could you wrap it up for us so we can hear from everybody?
I'll wrap it up by saying thank you very much for hearing what I had to say. And that comes from the heart and it is the truth. Thank you so kindly.
Sir, thank you. Hear from the Parole Project.
Good morning, Terry Myers, Louisiana Parole Project.
Thank you.
You've heard all about Mr. Campbell's record, which is one of the reasons that Parole Project is standing with and behind Mr. Campbell today. We know that he would be an excellent candidate. The 20-year-old man who drank himself on one binge night and committed a horrible crime is not the man that's sitting before you today. He has done tremendous things to improve himself during the time of his incarceration, from getting a college degree to being in welding to having a graphic arts certificate. He hasn't had a disciplinary infraction in 17 years. You can see he's already explained in 2005 how he just, the light came on and he knew that he had to be the person he should have been all along. He continues to work on his, even though he has told you he was a social drinker before this night, he recognizes what alcohol did that night. So he's not only taken Celebrate Recovery, he's facilitating Celebrate Recovery. He'll continue to be involved in that. We just ask that despite the facts of this case, that you give Mr. Campbell his recommendation today. He can do no more than he's done, and he continues to do. And we stand behind him, and we know he'd be an excellent candidate for Parole Project.
Thank you. Mr. Barnes. Yes, sir.
My name is Bill Vargas. I'm a lifelong Louisiana native. I currently reside in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I'm married with 2 sons, a daughter-in-law, and 2 grandchildren. I've been in the insurance and financial services business for 35 years. And I would like to thank you today for giving me the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Devon family. First of all, to the Hardy family, I want you to know how sorry I am for your loss. I can't imagine what you're going through, what you're experiencing. And I know that there's not a day that goes by that the veteran doesn't express his sorrow and his regret for his actions. And if he could go back and live it over again, he would. And it's not because of his incarceration, it's because he has recognized that what he did that day, the person came to his home. I speak on his behalf, asking for forgiveness. I got involved in ministry in Angola in 2010 with a program called Malachi Dads. It's a faith-based program that started in Angola. It was designed to help men reconnect with their families and hopefully break the cycle of generational incarceration. And this is a program where I had the opportunity to work closely with the veteran. It's a weekly program, and so I'm up there a good bit spending time with him and other inmates. At the time, he had been serving as a leader for one of the groups that included 10 or 12 other inmates. In addition to that, he's worked in several capacities, including a reentry mentor. He's even authored a curriculum called the Crossover for in their incarceration. And then he, along with other leaders, are now piloting the program. And that are in lockdown. It's been very successful. He has just been able to earn the trust and the confidence of the administration there in Angola. I believe he's taken advantage of every educational, vocational, and spiritual opportunity to improve himself as a man, and to make amends, to be a leader for and an example for those around him. I believe that rehabilitation and redemption is a process that we do from the inside out. We can change behaviors, but in the end, if we don't change from the inside out, then it's not going to last. Part of that process, I believe, takes three things. Number one, taking ownership of our actions and being held accountable and responsible. Number two, turning away from that, our old ways, and going in a new direction. And then three, seeking healing and restoration and forgiveness from those people. I believe that Deborah gets attempted to do all of these. But I believe there's a fourth, most important component in the rehabilitation and redemption process. I believe it involves a supernatural transformation in the individual. I believe it's exemplified in the Apostle Paul's life, who incidentally had a very violent past himself. And he wrote to the church in Corinth, he says that any man is in Christ, new creation. The old things have passed away and new things have come. Having worked with and spent time with Deborah over the last 2 years, I believe, most importantly, that this transition occurred in his life. That's why I feel confident asking on behalf of Deborah and all of those who have been positively affected by his release for a favorable recommendation from this board. And I look forward to continuing to work toward Deborah on his release as he continues to be a productive member of society and to be a positive influence on those who comes to mind. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, we'll hear from those opposed. Did we hear first from Mike Hardy?
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mike Hardy. I'm the president of the chief of police. On the night of December 23rd, 1992, I was chief of police 5 of them. I haven't been a chief since then, just took over again. But we got the call. And just to start up front, I am in opposition to the impunity or parole, anything. We got a call at my house. Lily's been shot. I said, well, send somebody to back him up. He's wearing his vest and sure he's going to be fine. I was saying prayers with my 2 little girls, 3 little girls, I'm sorry. It still hit me like, yes, sir. Responded to the call. I was probably one of the first ones there. There's Dooley's truck behind another vehicle in the driveway. The person that Dooley was arresting was still there with handcuffs. It actually put handcuffs on the guy. Dooley was our K9 officer. Didn't think it was going to be a violent arrest or anything. He was arresting a guy from almost minor charge. Gets the man out of the car, the driver, puts him against his passenger's side, put handcuffs on him, and Mr. Campbell walked out of the car, and I'm not there at the time, but this is what people on the street told me that were there. These are guys that were there. They're actually the people that told us that they get shooting. Acted like he had sand in his eyes or he had been to some fight or something before, and he walked up from behind me, no confrontation, and shot him in the back of the head. Nothing argumentative about it. When I showed up, he was lying there with blood coming from his head. It's a hard thing to show, brother. Look, It's changed our whole family. 7 boys. All of us have got into law enforcement over the years. Some of them have gone into teaching, gone into construction, dispatcher for all field. But we have over 175 years of law enforcement between our fathers and us. We fight guys all the time. We try to turn them the best way. We try to get them to change. We coach baseball, we coach football. We try to change our community. But this changed us. We almost all got out of them. This has been almost 30 years. 30 years, 15. I ask you consideration.
Mr. Okay.
Tony. Maybe over here. First off, I am Tony Boyd. I'm number 3 of 7. That was number 5. Says, I remember that night like it was yesterday. It's a nightmare that's going to be with us for the rest of our life. I was just trying to make a living, working 3 jobs, cutting grass, being a police officer, going back home, taking care of his wife and his little kid. Katie was 4 years old when this happened. So Katie never got a chance to really know her better. Wow. Mr. Campbell is a visiting family. John will never know his grandchildren. His grandchildren never know him. My kids will never know him. 30 years. He said, Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve. It's another thing I want y'all to remember. This is Christmas Eve. A horrific act like this on Christmas Eve. It was a coward act. It was a horrific act. And I can't forgive somebody for doing something like that. Taking a life on Christmas Eve. It's easy to say I'm sorry. I'm still a police officer today, 43 years. People get paroled, and I run into them on the street for one reason or another, and wind up arresting them. I'm not telling you I'm going to arrest everybody out there on the street that gets paroled, but I arrest a lot of them for violent acts, still today. So, and I imagine everybody that's going to come across y'all is going to tell you they're sorry, and I'd say what I had to say too to get out of here. So, like I said, I'd just like y'all to just keep this in mind when you're making a decision. Every day, anytime we bring up John's name, you see the hurt of my family gods. It's not easy to talk about it, but we do all the time because we want to remember John. Here's a family were told when this trial was going on, if we would let it stay alive and not appeal, that was natural life. He was going to be in jail for the rest of his life. 3 years later, we're being told a whole different story now. Here's a family who will stay together, we'll work together, we'll work with our community, and we'll come every time we have to, because we are against this. And I hope you guys can see the hurt that he has caused to my family. It should have never happened. There was no reason for it to happen. Again, I am asking, and I'm pleading with you. This man needs to stay in prison for the rest of his life. Violent acts like this here, I can't see myself 17 years in jail and then I'm okay if you can release me for what I did when I took a life.
17 years does not excuse that for me. Just keep that in mind when you make your decision. I really appreciate it. It goes through.
Anybody else? Is it?
That's it for us.
All right, Mr. Campbell,
Yes,
is there a
ma'am.
statement, is there a statement you'd like to address to the board before we vote?
Yes, ma'am. I thank you very much, ma'am, for this opportunity. I understand that I have no enforceable rights or privileges, that I've only been allowed to appear before this board because of the kindness of this board. I would like this board to know that the pain that I also live with, knowing that I've caused this family so much grief, so much hurt, knowing that there's nothing that I can do to change that. What I can do is continue to participate in programming and participate in activities that can help other individuals to make better decisions so that they will not cause this type of damage inside of this prison or when they're released. I thank everyone who has come to support me this day, and my heart goes out to everyone that my actions so negatively affected. And whatever this board's decision is today, I not only respect it, but I would like the board members to know that my life's goal is to continue to stay on a path that will help people to be decent human beings and to not commit such an act as I did, irrespective of the drinking. Alcohol is not moral. It is not immoral. I made an immoral decision to engage in underage illegal drinking, and it led to me taking another human being's life. Never could I have imagined sobering up in jail and having done such a thing. But I would like to close with this, that I thank you for this opportunity. And I thank all of the wardens, I thank the security here, and I thank the classification officers here, the people here who are helping me and other individuals to become better people, and everything that they have invested in me, wherever I'm allowed to work, to fellowship, and to live. I give them my word that I will continue to be an asset to any community. My feelings are beyond remorse. I thank you for this opportunity, and I'm going to continue to grow to be the best person I can. I thank you for this opportunity, and may God bless and keep you.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. I think we are prepared for you.
Yes. You know, Mr. Campbell, you've done great since you've been in prison. You've been a model inmate, and, you know, you've done very well in the prison setting and serving others. But the fact is that, you know, you took a man's life really for no reason whatsoever. And it was first-degree murder. So due to the serious nature of the offense and the strong victim opposition, I vote to deny.
Mr. Campbell.
First, to the Hardy family. I hear you, I see you, and I am not going to sit here and say I understand because I'm not in it. But I can imagine what it's like to you, and I appreciate you all being here. I appreciate the work that helped you from what I did. And from what I will say to you, and I say this from the bottom of my heart,
Yes, ma'am.
clearly, I'm talking to the Hardy family. Forgiveness is not for Mr. Campbell. Forgiveness is for you. And every crime, every murder with the family involved. But I have seen families who say, I forgive. And when they do that, it's like weight has been lifted off their shoulders. I don't know if you understand the weight that you're carrying. So, ask you to, just for your own sake. You know, I can tell you what the Bible says about forgiveness, but I'm not going to preach to you. But for your own sake, forgiveness heals you. Okay? With that being said, Mr. Campbell, I do applaud you for all the good work that you have done since you've been incarcerated.
Thank you, ma'am.
A lot of what you have done has not been just to improve yourself, but it's to help other people. You're very involved in the reentry program, and that's a very important program within the Department of Corrections. It helps a lot of people transition to a successful life. And I'm certainly moved by some of the letters from the inmates that you've mentored that said how much you have helped them become better human beings. And I appreciate all of that. You're only 50 years old. And
Yes, ma'am.
I know to you that seems old, but from my perspective, you know, 50 is way in the rearview mirror for me. So,
Yes, ma'am.
you know, when I think about the seriousness of the offense, and I don't want to elevate or diminish any other offense because anytime someone is murdered, it's a serious offense. But for this particular crime, I don't think you're there yet. I don't think you're there yet. But if you continue to work hard, you continue to serve others, I think that one day your day will come. But today, because of sufficient amount of time served for the seriousness of the offense, strong victim, community, law enforcement opposition, my vote today is to deny, but to encourage you to continue to do the good work that you're doing, continue to work in the lives of those men that have been placed in your care. And I believe that one day we will have a successful result. Today is not today. My vote today is to deny.
Thank you, ma'am, for your words of encouragement, and I will follow your advice.
Situation.
Good morning, Mr. Campbell.
Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Campbell,
Yes, sir.
I would like to, first of all, echo the words of Willie Jackson
Yes, sir.
and encourage you to continue on the same path that you're on now.
Thank you.
You have excellent family support. You have served your time very well, and you have helped a tremendous amount of fellow offenders.
Yes, sir.
But the egregious nature of your crime to come behind a police officer who has stopped an individual, not you, but another individual, for a minor infraction, and to execute a police officer for no reason other than you thought your friend was going to be arrested. The egregious nature of that is, I don't know what amount of time is sufficient, but for 30 years you have served is not sufficient. Based on overwhelming opposition from the legal community, the victim's family, and the Abigail, Louisiana community, my vote is to deny your request.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Campbell, I won't repeat what my colleagues have said. I do concur with their remarks that my vote today also is to deny based on the opposition experience. So today, sorry, your application for clemency has been denied.
Thank you.